projection of death for all the world. And finally, thanks to political will of some people like Kofi Annan, like Clinton, Chirac, Nelson Mandela, was created a mechanism that is called Global Fund. And the Global Fund changed the world. And now you can survive with your HIV infection, and also people who never could imagine to have this therapy that at the beginning was $12,000 each person for a year, and now it has been reduced in $142 each person for a year. And people survive or live well, and can die for other situations that are common to all of us in the humanity, other reasons. I think the same will happen in these years with hepatitis C. You know, hepatitis C is a very difficult situation that brings to cirrhosis many times on cancer of liver. This year was discovered for the first time the therapy who can cure. I think this is a discovery like penicillin, like antibiotics. There are 1 million people in the world with hepatitis C. Now we start the battle for the access of therapies to the people with hepatitis C. So when economy grows, gives money, it is possible to have miracles. The humanities is able to produce miracles and to be in better condition than before. But if there is conflict and war, this is not possible. And now I give the floor to Dr. Nasser Zeidan, professor in the Lebanese University. You have the floor.
Humanitarian dialogue and international relations. This might sound as a title that is a repetition of some of what the lecturers before me have said. I forgive those who went beyond this title and went into certain points that concern me, and if I have infringed on others, please forgive me. I ask you to forgive me. I wrote this speech thinking that I will be delivering it in front of a person who was president of Lebanon and he succeeded in his work, and I am in the presence of ministers and intellectuals and opinion makers who are very prestigious and respectable. The image of international relations has changed radically since the beginning of the year 2000, and it has become much more different compared to the previous century, and has carried winds of communication that have gone beyond the context of diplomatic relations or the principle of sovereignty that envisaged in the 1815 treaty. And the sociology of international relations, as mentioned by Raymond Aron, have superseded modern thoughts. Communication is a pillar of international relations, and this is represented by the image of the British Prime Minister in a Syrian refugee camp in Lebanon, and who then moves to another refugee camp in Jordan. Many other politicians do the same. These are all different forms that complement each other, or that may be different from the paradigms that were set after the Second World War. This has led to a series of rules that have to be supported so that more and more people may respect them. I mean by this the treaties that have unified the criteria for human rights in the world and have consecrated, let's say, international humanitarian law, especially the 48 Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the 4 Geneva Conventions of 49, as well as the 66 documents on civil rights, whether political, economic, or social. The link between the interests of the different people and the increase in economic and cultural exchanges have given rise to new paradigms of international relations. The roles of such relations are not played only by empires or superpowers. Such relations are carried out by international organizations or national institutions that work in the fields of humanitarian aid, rescue, in the cultural, religious, and financial fields, especially the specialized agencies of the UN, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Organization of the Islamic Conference, in addition to the International Federation of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, as well as the Council of World Churches. The big multinational companies in which a huge number of citizens from all parts of the world work are also an important player in the creation of international relations between peoples and nations and on the one part and countries on the other. This helps in increasing the productivity or the profit of the companies, and we may speak of international commercial or trade relations among the rich. With the development of the concept of international relations that has gone beyond the vision of Immanuel Kant, that dependent on collective security. With this, humanitarian dialogue has become as a necessity in order to depict a clear picture, new picture, because international relations have to modernize humanitarian dialogue, because the link between the interests of the peoples and the tragedies of such peoples is definite, is sure, and we cannot ignore it. The modern times are not necessarily stable and provide welfare, security, and safety to our people, but the harsh aspects of this reality require that we deal with it with a certain realism. More than 15 years ago, the Human Development Report for 1999 has concentrated on the new set of challenges that humanity must meet, and such challenges to be met require a new vision that is different from the previous one. Under the title of Globalization with a Human Dimension, the title of this report, the threats the threat that challenges human security were set. The threats are the following: lack of financial stability, lack of employment security, a lack of health security, cultural security, personal security, environmental security, and political and social security. All these issues require a dialogue with a human face, let's say, and require a new international vision that may deal with such challenges. We cannot deal with all these threats and challenges in all independent countries, since the basic differences between the challenges that the states and the peoples must meet are still huge. This is why developed societies may have certain economic security and environment needs that may be considered as a luxury in less developed communities, where their livelihoods, their security is threatened. This is why it is absolutely necessary to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor in the world, while keeping in mind that poverty does not depend only on low wages or low levels of wealth, but also on the lack of a legislative and procedural infrastructure that can allow us to deal in a scientific way with the challenges of modern times. Also, the differences in social levels in certain countries contribute to the increase of poverty, because they deprive the peoples of the world from their wealth, and this due to a lack of a just and suitable national agenda. The Security Council can no longer on its own deal with the issues that are related to collective security. Some of the crises we face are regional but have universal repercussions, such as the crisis of the displaced, or the use of excessive power against the peaceful movement of people, such as what the Palestinian people is suffering from under the Israeli occupation, and what the Syrian people is suffering from under the supremacy of the state forces, as well as the terroristic militias. This is why the Security Council needs both horizontal and vertical help in order to deal with the lack of stability in human security due to natural disasters or economic crises that are as a result of foreign debt of poor countries. Humanitarian dialogue is is a building, is a cornerstone of for building the trust between the communities of the world. Of course, dialogue is similar to an army, but an army not of weapons and soldiers, but rather an army of intellectual, humanitarian, scientific, and cultural capacities with the objective of guaranteeing preventive security towards human stability. Human security needs cultural and religious tolerance and non-discrimination, especially discrimination based on ethnicity, color, religion, gender, language, or social level. Human security has become a modern necessity in order to control unrest or stop wars that are destructive, whether they are among groups or countries. And in order to stop the interference of countries. Modern international relations are not created by states alone. They are the result of a huge digital revolution, which has supported the human dialogue and have gone beyond the traditional features of dialogue. International relations, modern international relations, are also reflected in relations between